All right, so it's 7:01, so I'm gonna get started here so we can, I know all of you are excited to get to Jeannie and the game today. So let me just start here. On behalf of HighTech Kids, I would like to welcome you to coaches training this year for the 2021-2022 FLL Cargo Connect season. My name is Vicki Cody. Today in the office here, we have Cheryl Moeller is going to be running the Q&A and the chat. Jeannie Badger is going to come on a little bit later here to go over the game. Barb is running our what do you call that? All of our video and tech, and Norm is over here helping her do that tonight. So if there's any point in time where you can't see something or you can't hear us, please throw it in the chat and we will try to take care of that right away. And again, earlier I said we are taping this, so we're recording it, so we're gonna post this later this week. I'd also like to start with thanking you guys for coaching. I know that last year was an interesting year, right? And everybody had their own issues. We were able to have a season, but we're so excited this year that a lot of you have come back after taking a season off. I know sometimes it's hard, but what you guys do allows the kids to have some fun and do a lot of learning. So we really appreciate that. I know I noticed I recognized a bunch of names, but I also saw some new names out there. So for those of you who've been around before, you might know this, but I just want to touch really fast on how HighTech Kids and First works together. We are two separate nonprofits, two separate entities. So First is based in New Hampshire. They author the game, so they connect and partner with Lego to come up with the challenges each year, the rules, the rubrics, all of that stuff. First then turns around and partners with organizations, across the United States and across the world to deliver those programs in those areas. So in Minnesota, we are that organization that runs the events, does training like this. We gather the volunteers, we do the outreach and the workshops and those sorts of things. All right, so First Lego League Challenge in Minnesota. I want to touch on this really quick. So on the left is the front page of our website. And if you click into First Lego League Challenge, I marked 3 things here. And I'm a little bit going to start from the bottom in the training, but these are 3 kind of important little tabs on our website that I'd like to point out. The 2021 Cargo Connect, the required form, oh, whoops, sorry. I got a little ahead of myself. The required forms and then the training. So I'm going to start here with the training. So we're in coaches training right now. And I hope that all of you had a chance to go through those little short video. We call them snippets, but it's a training series. I think each of them are about 5 or 6 minutes long. One of them talks about an intro and talks about what's in team resources. Another one talks all about event registration. When registration will be, how it happens, it's first come, first serve, and takes you through that. And there's another one that talks about what our event plan is for this year. I'm going to touch on each of those just a little bit. And then there's 2 other videos there that we left up there from last season for remote events. One about how judging for remote events is going to work, and the robot game, because we are going to offer remote events. So one thing we learned last year, we started something called coaches calls. We had these Zoom meetings, and they were meetings, not webinars. So, we had everybody up on the Zoom meeting. It was an open format. We had a sort of a theme each night, but at the end, after we answered any questions that people had, it was just sort of an open chat. people came with whatever questions they had. And I think the coaches really enjoyed it because these meetings are going to happen a little bit later in the season. They're in October and it's the beginning of November. So you've already been meeting with your kids. It's a good time if the kids have a question, or all of a sudden you're meeting with your kids and you don't completely understand something, or you have a question. It's a great place to come. It was a pretty good community building event too. So please plan on coming to those. And those are just Zoom meetings, so you don't have to go anywhere. But we'll have those one on the 5th, October 5th, October 18th, and November 3rd. All right, so for our event plan, what we are planning on, we're going to have two options. So we are going to have one event that's a remote option, just like last year. And for those of you who weren't here last year, we did the robot game the week before, and the day of the event was all the judging. And then we had an online awards ceremony on Twitch TV. I think they ran pretty smoothly, and we're going to do those exactly the same for our Sunday, December 12th remote event. So what we've decided to do this year for our in-person events, and mostly this is just, our first priority is to keep everybody safe. And so instead of having the big events with the, 300-400 people there, we thought we could do, we're going to have teams come in groups of about 8 or maybe 10. So teams are going to come in, they're going to complete all of their robot rounds, so a practice round, and then their 3 scored rounds, and complete all of their judging. And that cycle should take about 2 hours. We're still working out the details. So they're going to run through all that stuff. Then we're going to ask them to leave. And then another group is going to come in, same thing, about 2 hours. They're going to leave. In between, we're going to clean. Another group is going to come in until we cycle through the number of teams that we're going to cycle through that day. And the awards ceremony will again be broadcast on Twitch TV at about 6 o'clock. So the good part is when you come in and you check in, we're going to give you your medals right away in the morning. So, well, mostly so we don't have to ship them, but then your kiddos will be able to take their medals home, even though they won't be there at the end of the day. And then we're going to, just like last year, we're going to ship the trophies, and the rubrics will actually be emailed. All right. Are there any questions about that, Cheryl, in the chat at all?
Will there be time between the robot rounds to make changes, or do all happen back to back?
They're not back to back. So the way we're hoping the schedule works, you'll come in and your first round will be, the practice round. And then depending on what your schedule is, you'll have 2 of them that are going to be back to back, and then you'll have one that's a little bit later. But I mean, it's not a huge amount of time. It's maybe 10 minutes. So unless you have, and you might have judging in there, but it's still a pretty compressed time. It won't be like last year, it was back to back to back, but. All right.
Will there be practice tables before performance judging?
Yes. Yes, we will have practice tables just like at regular events. So you'll be able to do that. And actually, depending on your venue, will sort of depend on how many practice tables we have. And we're working that out with our venue hosts right now to see, what we can fit, because we're trying to really spread everybody out, so you're not on top of each other.
Another question, when you register for an event, do you also register for your preferred time, or is that assigned?
Do you mean for a remote? Okay.
Like a 2-hour window.
Oh, no, that'll be assigned. But if you have a special, so if you're a school and you are going to bus your 3 teams in, email either me or Jeannie. Oh, don't email. Jeannie's saying her. Okay, email Jeannie. Jeannie wants all the FLL emails this year. Email Jeannie, and she will, if you've got a thing with, if you've got a lot of teams, she can make that happen.
Can family members attend the judging session room? I understand they can't be in the pit area.
Yep, so I'm going to get there. So that leads me to the next slide. So we're asking everyone to wear a mask, no matter your status of vaccination. And that's really just to keep everybody safe. The kids, the volunteers, everybody in the building. So we are going to limit the judging rooms and the pits just to the teams and to 2 adults. So if you've got a team of 10, when you check in, I'm going to give you 12 wristbands. So that's for your 10 kids and then 2 adults. So what we're asking, or what we're encouraging coaches, is to take your phone or bring a video camera or something and videotape those kids. Because I mean, I was a parent of FLLer. Parents want to be in, they want to see their kids doing their thing. And so if you could record that, because we don't have the equipment. And with school Wi-Fi, school Wi-Fi makes me nervous. So I don't know that we can have a lot of things streaming out. So if you could record your kiddos in judging, I think that would, it's not perfect, but that's what we're encouraging people to do. All right, is that answering everything there? All right. So one more thing while I'm on this slide. During registration, there was a little box added that said, before you put your credit card in and everything, that you're going to agree to our mask requirement, that everybody is going to wear a mask to our in-person events. All right. So another new thing this year. So last year we did this online demographic surveys and they were great. Save a tree. So we are going to have those online again. So right here on the side there where that yellow arrow is, we have a tab called required forms. And in there, you'll see it says First Lego League Challenge demographic survey. It's highlighted red. So as a coach, we would like you as coaches to go in there ahead of time and fill that out. Just be aware that we are asking for an address on that form, and the address is where you want us to send your trophies, because that may be different than who paid, for your events or something. And it also will determine, we'll be able to pre-count out those medals for you, so check-in goes a little bit more smoothly. So we're asking you to do that ahead of time. The really new thing, even new from last year, so this summer we found out that the consent and release form that first fills out doesn't cover us. Who knew? So we had to develop our own consent and release form, and that will also be on this page. So our form, I put a PDF out there, or Jeannie did, put a PDF out there so you can look at it. We're really hoping that you can send your parents to this page and they can just fill it out. They don't have to, first requires you to do a login and create a user account and everything. Our system isn't asking for that. They'll just click on it. After registration, it'll open, this form will open October 25th, because we're going to do a drop down of all the teams. They can just pick the team and the team number and, type in Sally Smith, and we're not even asking for a birthday. It would just be under 18, and then the parents' names, and boom, you're done. Very simple form. Are there any questions about the forms at all, Cheryl?
Not about the form, but there was another question to clarify about where can parents watch when they come to an event?
Oh, so we are happy to let them watch the robot part. So like in the gym, like in most schools, it's in a gym. So they will, the stands will be there, or however that venue is. So. Oh, is there another one? Sorry.
Yes. Can parents be in the pit if they are there as a chaperone, like one parent per team, or is that not allowed at all?
So it's whoever. I'm going to give you 2 wristbands for 2 adults. So it can be you and your co-coach. If you have a special circumstance and you have a child who has special needs, just talk to us about that. But pretty much the the parents or the two adults are going to be responsible for the kids in the pits. And, we're only really talking about maybe a 2-hour time frame. They're going to be in judging part of that time. And then they're going to be also, just doing their robot thing too. So I don't think it's going to be a huge amount of time where the parents are going to be away from their kids. But if you have a special issue, let us know. Please let us know. Are we good? All right. All right, so here are your challenge documents. Oh, hold on a second here. Sorry about that. So here are the challenge documents. So anyone who is registered, if you haven't received your kit and your challenge documents, your paper challenge documents yet, they will come. Thank you. They will come in 2 separate packages. So I think the Legos come in the big long box. The challenge documents actually come in a separate mailing. So if you haven't received them, just keep watching for those. But if you haven't received, you can access all of these challenge docs, is what I'm trying to say, is on ThinkScape. So if you are the coach, you log into ThinkScape, the dashboard, and there should be a ThinkScape button that populates up there on the right, I believe. You click that link and it should take you to these documents. And I believe that's where you can find the interactive engineering notebook, as well as, I believe, PDFs of these that you can then turn around and download and disperse. Because I think you only get 2 actual printed engineering notebooks. So you'll want to go there and download those for your kids. Oops. All right, let's get started with the actual challenge. Are we good, Cheryl? Any questions?
Are you going to talk about core values, judging?
Yep. Getting there. Getting there. All right. This is very timely for that last question. So last year, for those of you who took a year off, last year, all brand spanking new rubrics, and I mean completely and totally new. If you were a team last year, they changed the rubrics again anyway. So everybody should look at the rubrics. There's also a new judging process. So if you were to look at the information from first, they want everyone to do a single judging session of 30 minutes. We're not going to quite do it that way, but we're going to break it out into 2 sessions. So the person that asked about core values, it is correct. So there is no separate core values session anymore. Core values is evaluated within all of the rubrics, and there is another separate core values rubric. So you're going to have 2 judging sessions. One of them is going to be your project, your innovation project, and there will be a core values judge in that session. And your other session is going to be your robot design and programming, and there's going to be a core values judge in that session as well. So just be aware of that. So you're just going to have 2 judging sessions. For both of those, and I'll go into this in more detail, you start off with a 5-minute presentation if you'd like, and we'll talk about that as we go a little bit further. But just know that all these new rubrics, the core values are embedded in there, and they're really, really stressed in almost every line of the rubric. So for core values, so I've listed here the core values. Those actually haven't changed. This is what the new rubric looks like. And by the way, all of the rubrics are on our website. We have a tab called 2021 Cargo Connect. Oh, Jeannie said they're not there yet. She's going to get them there this week. They're going to be there this week. So I would go out there and look at those rubrics. Anyway, but core values is still, how the team works together well. There's just not going to be the activity that the kids do because there won't be a separate judging session. So the core values judges, so don't be surprised if you get a core values question in either your project or your robot design session. Also, don't be surprised if you look at this core values rubric, if you get a rubric back, because you're going to have 2 core values judges, if you get a rubric back that just says not, what did we say they were going to say? Not demonstrated. Sorry, not demonstrated. That just means that, and that might happen more often in your robot design and programming session. One of them is outreach. And instead of having our judges just mark something willy-nilly, if it's not demonstrated, it's fine. It's not good. It's not bad. It just was something that wasn't demonstrated because we think that there might be some fields on this rubric that just don't get talked about in certain judging areas. So don't freak out if you see not demonstrated. It's not a bad thing. It's not a 0. It just means that it didn't happen. All right. So for the project, again, check out the new rubric. I'm going to go over the project in a second here, but it's very similar to past years. There's a question, and this year it's going to be about transportation. You're going to research. You're going to do a research, see what already exists, see what's out there. Maybe the kids will design something brand spanking new. So they have to design a new piece of technology, equipment, or method to improve an existing one. So they could find something that already exists. They could use it in a new way. They can revamp it. They can invent something entirely new. One new thing is that they want you to make a model, a prototype, or a drawing. This doesn't have to be extensive. It can be a drawing on a trifold board that the kids bring. So they do want you to share it. This year, they want you to collect feedback, and they want you to iterate your design. Iteration is a really big thing in all of these rubrics. So just, they want to see your journey. And again, this isn't new. This isn't new for a project, but you are going to put together a 5-minute presentation. So this year, I'm going to read this. So it's all about transportation, how products go from point A to point B, and how you can make their journey better. So on page 7 of the engineering notebook is where your project is actually laid out. I'm just going to read the first top paragraph. It says, everyone depends on transportation of goods for their daily needs. As more demands are placed on transportation systems, we will continue to face challenges unless we find new ways or improve existing ways to transport products from place to place. How can you improve the transportation of products? Identify a specific problem within this theme that you want to solve, then create or improve a piece of equipment, technology, or method of transportation. So one thing that we laughed about here in the office is we transport, for instance, all of our Lego tables and all of our equipment from event to event. And if anybody wants to come up with a way better way for us to do that, I would buy the team chocolate or something. They can come up with a better way for us to lug our stuff from place to place. But your transportation could be something simple like that. It could be, getting things off, they come across on a big cargo ship from, somewhere, maybe in China or Japan or Asia. How does it get here? Or it could be, how does it go from New York to California? Or how does it go from Edina to, Elk River? It could be something local. It could be something even just within your little community. Could be something in your school. How does your school mail go from, room 121 to room 322? Who knows? Hold on, Cheryl has a question.
We have a question from one of the coaches, and her team is trying to improve the environmental impact of cargo transportation.
Okay.
Does that fall into the categories of access, safety, efficiency, or connections?
Oh, you're stumping me. So it is more about
The environmental.
The environmental impact. I would say not. I'm looking around at my coworkers. I would read the question again, and there is a place where you can ask questions to first. I think it is more about, well, it says, identify a specific problem related to making the transportation journey of products better. So I'm not sure if it's, I would ask that question to first. I would submit that to the, I believe it's FLL project. It might be FLL challenge project at firstinspires.org. I believe that's the email. I would submit that question because I guess I don't know how to answer that question. Because it sounds like it's more about the environment as opposed to how to make the transportation journey better. Anybody else have an opinion of that in my office here? I don't think so. All right.
It makes it better. So I would maybe argue that would.
Yeah, you could argue it either way. And that's why I would actually pose that question to the first forum. So are there any more project questions? Okay. All right. Robot design and programming. So in Minnesota, it actually first calls this robot design. In Minnesota, we added programming because we value programming. So as in the past couple of years, there will not be a table for you to demonstrate your robot. Remember that this session is focused on the actual engineering process, not how many points your robot can score, but the process that either your robot went through or your programming code went through. Because we all know it starts in one place and it takes loops and turns and goes in all kinds of different directions. And maybe it comes back to the beginning and maybe it doesn't. And maybe it all falls apart and you start all over again. But that's all part of the process. Something new this year, if your team would like, you can start with a presentation, maximum of 5 minutes, just like project has been. If you decide to do a presentation, and it doesn't have to be a skit, but you can just, the kids can just say, have something that they have rehearsed and decided that they wanted to share right away with the judges. You know, you can highlight both the project, or I'm sorry, both the programming and the mechanical design of your robot, talk about your process, talk about the changes, talk about your strategy, why you chose which missions you chose to do and why. So after you do your presentation, if you have a presentation, just like project, there'll be Q&A. What we're not going to do this year is we're not going to break you out and have, you know, the programmers go over on this corner and talk with our programming judge. We're going to have one big conversation. So they're going to talk about robot design for about 5 minutes, and then you're going to turn around and talk about programming for 5 minutes, or we'll just see where that conversation goes. But both of those judges are going to ask enough questions to fill their rubrics. So when you're talking about design, so this is what I have up here first is design, is explain the design of your robot. You know, why'd you do what you did? Why did you do it? Why did you, you know, you might even talk about why you use Spike Prime versus EV3 or EV3 versus Spike Prime if that was part of your process. But talk about your attachments, talk about your sensors, talk about, you know, how did you include everyone's idea? How did your designers talk to your programmers if you are separated out like that? You know, how did that conversation happen? And here's with programming, same thing. Have a way to show your code. It could be on a computer, it could be on a poster, it could be in a binder, however it is you want to show your code. Same thing, talk about your process, because even your code is going to have a process. How did it improve? What worked? You know, did your code make your robot more reliable, or was it more of a robot design to help make your code more reliable? Maybe they went hand in hand. And again, also talk about how all your members understood the code. They don't all have to be your programmers, but all the kids need to understand why the decisions were made in the way that they were made. Does anybody have any questions about that part? All right. I don't think there's a lot of change there. It's just that we're not going to pull those programmers out. Okay, so we're getting close to the end of my part here. So the robot game, this part has not changed. Mission models, build them correctly. I think this year there were maybe only one or two that were slightly tricky, but it was a pretty fast build this year. Remember that we are not going to have any video replays. This is the part, that the parents will be there. They'll be videotaping, I'm sure. But after those kids say yes, when they chat with the referees, that's going to be it. Read the robot game rule book, read it again. Remember, it's 2.5 minutes to complete any mission on the table in any order. You're just got 2.5 minutes to amass as many points as possible. You're gonna, again, this year have 3 tries. We're gonna have 1 practice round that doesn't count, and then you're gonna have 3 tries. And remember that it's just your top score. So if you get a 0 and a 500 and a 250, we're gonna take the 500. So just remind the kids, if they crash and burn on 1, it's okay. You've got 3 tries. The game updates we'll use, and we've done this in past years. If there are a lot of game updates, we'll take Friday night at about 5 o'clock. And I don't think they post actually after Friday at 3. So on Friday, we'll take what they have, and we're going to use whatever those updates are for that weekend. We have a link to the game updates under that 2021 Cargo Connect link off of our FLL page. All right, here's my top 10 tips that really haven't changed. The biggest one is kids do the work. Kids are smarter than we are. I hate to say it, but they are. They're going to build their robot the way they want to build it, and it's going to work best for them that way. Remember, you only have 2.5 minutes. Repeatability and reliability. If you've got a robot that does 4 things really reliably, 90% of the time, that's going to be better than having a robot that does 10 missions only 30% of the time. You're going to get to the event and nothing's going to work. So reliability, and repeatability is going to work better. I would practice, set an egg timer, for 2.5 minutes, count 3, 2, 1 Lego, and have the kids run the robot. If the wheel falls off, say, okay, well, what would you do if this happened? I always say start early on the project, and I've said this before. Kids don't join First Lego League to do a research project, not initially. So you'll probably, if you start early on the project, just keep those kids moving with that project, so you don't come to the end and, throw something together at the last minute. And even though there is an engineering notebook, I would still keep a separate notebook on the journey. One tip that I did when I had a team many years ago is we would take a picture every time the robot changed. We took a picture of it and put that in the notebook. We added something, we subtracted something, took a picture, put it in the notebook, because 3 months later, the kids have no idea what that robot looked like before. I've seen kids going to judging, and the robot judge says, so what did your robot look like in the beginning? Oh, it always looked like this. Well, it didn't. So it's just a way for them to remember. And then they can actually show those pictures. Oh, we went from this to this, to this, to this, to this. All right. And awards. So last year, there were some new awards that were implemented from FIRST. These awards are essentially the reasons why we would have given out judges awards before. So they are Engineering Excellence, Breakthrough, Rising All-Star, and Motivate, and we will be awarding all these awards plus our regular awards at each event. So some of these, just simply share your story with the judges, and we should be able to award these pretty readily. All right, so advancement, just like in past years, the teams who advance to the state championship are going to be well-rounded in all aspects, including the judged part of the events. Just please remember your robot score is only is 25% of your score. So each of those scores are weighted equally, 25% core values, project, robot design and programming, and then performance. And as we've done in the past, if you do advance, you'll be receiving an email from me after the event to see how to move forward. And we have not worked out those advancement numbers yet because we're still taking registrations, but we're hoping that about 25% of the teams from regionals advance onto state out of each event. All right, so last year we had the award ceremony on Twitch TV. It worked out pretty well, and so this is what we're going to do again this year. I will send out the URL to this Twitch TV in the emails that I send you for your event. But like I said before, the rubrics will be emailed, and any awards that you win, any trophies, will be actually snail mailed to you that next week. And you will be getting your medals right there when you check in with us. So one of the last things I want to talk about, because I would be remiss if I didn't, we are a volunteer organization. If you've ever wondered what happens in that volunteer room besides, donuts and coffee, come and check it out. We have a great group of people. We would love for you to come and join our volunteer family. We have volunteer training in October. Coaches and parents make some of our best referees and judges. I was a former referee. Jeannie was a former judge. Most of us in the office, except for Cheryl, had kids who do this program or have volunteered for us. So we're all pretty passionate about it, and it's just a wonderful group of people. All right. So it is time to move on to Jeannie. She is going to walk us through the robot game. And she's going to start with the rules and take it away, Jeannie.